In the trial that gripped America, a trial already soaked in blood, betrayal, and family downfall, no one expected the final betrayal to come from the woman sworn to protect the truth. It began like a thriller from the darkest corners of true crime. A courtroom packed with tension, a high-powered attorney on trial for the most unspeakable crimes, and behind the scenes, a gatekeeper sworn to protect the sanctity of sealed evidence. In that rarefied world of jurors and verdicts, one person held the key to secrets no outsider should see. But what if that gatekeeper looked away? What if she opened the door instead, not for justice, but for fame? That's the story of Mary Rebecca Becky Hill, the former clerk of court for Alex Murdaugh's 2023 double murder trial. Her job was to guard evidence, manage exhibits, and ensure the jury's integrity. Instead, she chose a path that shattered trust. She showed sealed crime scene photos to a reporter and later lied in court about it. On December 8, 2025, Hill pleaded guilty, forever rewriting a chapter in one of America's most sensational trials. This is not just a story of a clerk's fall from grace. It's about how one breach of trust can ripple through an entire trial, challenging the very foundations of justice, and leaving us asking, what becomes a verdict when the guardians of the truth betray it? To understand the weight of what happened, you need to see the world in which it unfolded. A courtroom in rural South Carolina, the old money legacy of a powerful family, and a murder case that gripped the nation. The accused, Alex Murdaugh, once a rising star of his county's legal establishment. The victims, his wife Maggie and son Paul. The trial, 6 weeks of gruesome testimony, harrowing crime scene evidence, and intense media scrutiny. Presiding over this procedural chaos was Becky Hill. As the clerk of court for Culleton County Clerk of Court, she held immense responsibility. She tracked and maintained all exhibits, controlled what jurors, and only jurors, could see, and ensured sealed material remained sealed. In any serious criminal trial, the clerk is more than an administrator. She is the guardian of truth. Most people saw a calm, competent official. To the public, Hill's role went unnoticed until someone pulled back the veil. On May 14, 2025, authorities arrested Hill on a shocking charge. She had shown sealed court exhibits, including graphic crime scene photographs, to a reporter. What made it worse? She later lied under oath about it. According to prosecutors, metadata from the leaked images matched the time when Hill's courthouse key card indicated she was inside the locked room where the exhibits were stored. That, alongside testimony from a journalist, suggested there was no accident. This was a deliberate release of sensitive, sealed material meant only for jurors and court officers. That wasn't all. Investigators uncovered further misconduct. Hill had reportedly misused public funds, collecting nearly $10,000 in bonuses, plus about $2,000 from her office, and had used her position to promote a book she had written about the trial. She even aired video content filmed inside the courthouse, aiming to monetize public interest. The betrayal was deep and multidimensional. It wasn't just about a few leaked photos. It was about a public official using her office for personal gain, exploiting tragedy for profit, and betraying a sacred oath to justice. On December 8, 2025, Hill entered a courtroom for what many expected would be a dramatic showdown. Instead, she pleaded guilty. Her charges: obstructing justice and perjury, for showing reporters sealed graphic photos, and then lying under oath. Plus, 2 counts of misconduct in office for financial crimes, and exploiting her role to promote her book. Her sentencing? 3 years of probation. No prison time. No jail cells. Which, to many, felt like a light punishment given the gravity of the betrayal. The judge acknowledged the severity, saying Hill's sentence would have been much harsher if prosecutors had believed she tampered with the jury itself. But beyond the courtroom drama, the most troubling question remains: how could someone entrusted with the core of the court's integrity so casually break it and walk away with probation? Even before Hill's guilty plea, defense teams from Murdaugh had made serious allegations. They claimed Hill had improperly spoken with jurors, pressured them toward a quick guilty verdict, and even suggested she manipulated the selection or removal of certain jurors, all to ensure the trial ended swiftly, paving the way for her book and media deals. In a motion for a new trial submitted in 2023, Murdaugh's lawyers described instances where Hill allegedly instructed jurors not to be fooled by defense testimony, made private calls with the jury foreperson, and actively campaigned for guilty findings. Still, prosecutors declined to indict her on jury tampering. Why? Because in their investigation, they interviewed as many jurors as possible, 9 out of 12, and found no evidence of undue influence. 11 jurors who spoke said they felt no pressure to reach a verdict, and none recalled any improper conduct from Hill. As prosecutor Rick Hubbard explained, the state faced a steep uphill battle. I would be facing a trial with 11 witnesses coming in to say everything the state is saying is not true. In other words, the evidence was too flimsy, too conflicted. The risk of acquittal was high, and the case for jury tampering too uncertain. That decision turned the spotlight away from potential corruption of the jury and onto clear statutory crimes: leaking sealed evidence, lying under oath, and misusing public office. With Hill's guilty plea and the formal decision against filing jury tampering charges, what does that mean for the future of Murdaugh's convictions and for justice overall? Appeals remain unlikely to succeed for now, because prosecutors concluded there was insufficient evidence to prove jury tampering beyond a reasonable doubt. Judges reviewing any appeal will likely view the verdict as valid. The core concern prosecutors acted on, protecting sealed evidence, does not automatically undermine the jury's verdict. Certainty over procedural integrity, but doubts linger. Legally, the prosecution covered its bases. They secured a conviction against Hill for clear wrongdoing. But the jury tampering allegations that go to the heart of whether Murdaugh got a fair trial, remain unresolved in the eyes of many. Some jurors testified they weren't influenced, but given Hill's later admissions of dishonesty and misconduct, reasonable doubt lingers for skeptics. The case becomes a cautionary tale for future defendants. Courts and prosecutors may treat this as a boundary. Leaking sealed evidence is punishable as a crime, but proving jury tampering, especially after the fact, demands a high burden of proof and reliable witness testimony to stain on the legacy of the trial. Even if a verdict stands, the involvement of a clerk who compromised evidence and then lied erodes public trust. For a trial already steeped in sensational media coverage, this final twist, the courtroom betrayal, casts a long shadow. When Hill addressed the court, she offered only a short apology. There is no excuse for the mistakes I made. I'm ashamed of them and will carry that shame the rest of my life. Those words, coming from a woman once entrusted with upholding justice, fell heavy in the courtroom. She had lost her office, her credibility, her name. She was no longer a guardian of the court. She was a cautionary example. It's easy to think of the legal implications, charges, pleas, sentences, but behind the headlines is personal ruin. A public servant turned controversial, a once respected official reduced to a figure of shame and mistrust. For the families involved in the trial, for jurors who faithfully deliberated, for the community, the betrayal stings much deeper than any headline can capture. In the end, this is not just a story about crime, punishment, and the law. It is about trust and how easily it can be broken. It is about the moral weight carried by those entrusted with power. It is about what happens when duty is traded for fame and greed. As disturbing as Hill's actions were, they also serve as an urgent reminder. Justice isn't just about laws and verdicts. It's about integrity. It's about refusing shortcuts, staying faithful to one's oath, even when the world beckons with reward. For those who walk the halls of power, judges, clerks, court officers, and for all of us, there is a moral lesson here. And sometimes that lesson comes from a higher place than the courts. Consider these verses from the Bible, which speak to truth, accountability, and the stewardship of trust. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. Proverbs 10 verse 9. Hill may have felt secure in the moment, key card in hand, exhibits unguarded, but in the end, her crooked path was exposed. To whom much is given, much will be required. Luke 12 verse 48. As clerk, she was given responsibility over sealed evidence, jurors, and the fair administration of justice. That responsibility demanded more than compliance. It demanded honor. Better is a poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. Proverbs 19 verse 1. The price of integrity may be humility, even hardship, but the cost of betrayal is shame that can last a lifetime. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Matthew 5, verse 37. In a courtroom, under oath and in life, honesty should be the only policy. Becky Hill failed in those simple, profound standards. But her story, ugly, painful, consequential, can serve as a warning. Because when the guardians of justice fall, everyone loses. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.